What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to DSM pregame live, streaming to you exclusively here on DSM Media's YouTube channel. If you guys are new to the page, make sure you check us out on Twitter at DSM_media. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. But if you want to be interactive throughout tonight's show and every show we have scheduled here on DSM, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you check us out on the YouTube channel. It's the best place to get your thoughts, comments, questions, and concerns. Pull it up on the screen. It's the best place to be interactive with my co-host and I. I am one half of your host, Dylan Davis, at DylanJD98 on Twitter. Check my man out, Scotty, on Twitter, at ScottyDrowned. What's going on, man? How are we?
I'm doing well, man. Happy hump day to you. I'm ready to get into this Sixers game tonight. Obviously, we missed the one on Monday. We had like an extended Turf Talk show. We had to dig into that weekend of football, but I'm back. I'm happy to get back to the grind and back on the nod here and talk about this Sixers team. They're streaking right now, and we got to give them some props. So I can't wait to get into all of it with you, man, nonetheless.
They are, man. And you mentioned they're streaking. They're on a 5-game win streak, right? Longest of the season. They're up to 17-12 on the season. They're a game and a half out of the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference at the moment. So they're playing inspired basketball. They actually look fun and entertaining to watch again, albeit at times ugly. Obviously, as we saw against Toronto, there's a lapse. There's a 19-1 run down the stretch where the game has to go to overtime when it probably shouldn't have. So we'll break that one down. But nonetheless, they come away with a win. Joel Embiid, James Harden, Tobias Harris continue to impress. And there's just a cohesiveness about this group right now, man. And to hear Joel Embiid come out and say it, basically that we have not really played many minutes at all together this year, fully healthy. Obviously, still missing Tyrese Maxey. He will not play tonight either against the Pistons. But to hear him say, we're rolling right now, essentially. We feel good playing together. We're sharing the ball. And when we play like this, I believe we're unbeatable. And that should be the mindset of this team. It was the mindset of this fan base when this core was acquired after the trade for James Harden. Right now, obviously, injury plagued them in the postseason last year. Injuries plaguing them early to start this season. But if they can continue to mesh and continue to find that cohesiveness between the 2 or 3 of them on the floor, this team is looking really good at the moment.
Yeah, you're spot on with the analysis there. It's very simple, right? Start to win games, separate yourself from 500, increase your standings in the Eastern Conference. Philly fans are going to be happy with you, and we're going to be in a better spot mentally, right? They're just playing much better basketball. The confidence is there, right? They're playing with confidence. They're playing like they know what they're doing a lot of the time now. Still are some spurts here and there where things look ugly, right? We saw it last game. I know you just said we're going to get into that game against the Raptors. There was a superior scoring drought in that game, right, for the Sixers in that game. And it happened a couple different times throughout that game, which it just should never happen when you have guys like Harden and Embiid on your roster, right? So there's still those little spots there, but it's good to see winning. It's good to see good chemistry and good basketball, and it's good to see these guys back on the court, especially Harden. Now we just got to get Maxey back in the mix. Obviously, the timeline was originally set for Christmas, around Christmas Day or this week, I guess. Yeah. We'll see.
Quickly
as the week progresses, but nothing there yet. But yeah, I'm happy with this team. You saw Tobias last game hit some big shots after the game. He got the one-on-one conference after the game. He clarified. He made sure everybody knows he is a sharpshooter.
Tell a friend to tell a friend, bro.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. I was trying to think of the quote he used. That was it right there. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I'm a mother sharpshooter. And he is, man. You can tell he's worked on it.
42%.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And that's not the Tobias that we knew. We got to get used to it, man. We got to get used to that consistency. So love to see it all around, man. But let's dive into the details nonetheless.
Yeah, man. So let's look back on that game, and I'll start with the positives first. You bring up one of the main ones, that being Tobias Harris, specifically from beyond the 3-point line. He also had one taken away from him for whatever the refs were talking about. We talked about NFL refs on Monday. The NBA refs said, hold my beer. Here we go again down the stretch. against this Raptors team the other night. But that's been one of the biggest positives to start this young season, right? And I loved one of the things I actually like that head coach Doc Rivers says is there's a difference between knowing your role and accepting your role. And a lot of guys know their role, but they don't want to accept it on previous teams and different organizations he's been around. And Tobias Harris feels and looks like a player and a guy that has totally and utterly accepted his role. The jump he has made to turn himself into a catch and shoot guy and a catch and shoot threat from behind the 3-point line is second to none. You don't see these types of leaps, right? Tobias Harris was always a dribble the ball through the floor, isolation playmaker, can hit you in the mid range, can identify a mismatch with a smaller body on him. The fact that he's shooting 42% from three and probably higher from the corners, I would say the corners he's probably shooting close to 50% from three on the young season, right? So that's a positive. Another positive that I loved last game, at least in the first half, was the defense. I'm seeing a lot of team defense, team rebounding. The switches look more crisp and cleaner on defense. They're giving more help, so I'm loving what I'm seeing there. And then this is going to be my last positive, but segue into my negatives from last game. I love the way that James Harden has kind of taken control of being the maestro of this offense. It's clear as day. You see the assist totals. You see the 3-point shooting before last night. You see the scoring. You see everything, right? But so it's a positive to see it in that manner. But if you notice, two of the runs this Toronto Raptor team went on 2 nights ago, it started immediately when James Harden came off the floor. He was the first sub in the first quarter, and he was the first sub off the floor in the third quarter to start the second half. And immediately the offense kind of looked dysfunctional, whether it's D'Anthony Melton or Shake Milton running things. It was stagnant. There were 3 guys standing all within 10 feet of each other in the corner multiple times. So I'm loving what I'm seeing out of James, but I'm not loving the dysfunction that I saw last game immediately when he comes off the floor. And it was weird to me to see that when we praise Shake Milton and D'Anthony Melton for how they took control of this offense in the absence of James Harden and Tyrese Maxey just a few weeks ago. So I expect that now that you're in that backup role, when James is off the floor, I have faith in you to elevate the bench lineup. And I didn't see that the other night.
Yeah, man, and it's funny you point that out because as I'm looking at everything here, it literally it starts with Shake Milton, and I don't know if it's Shake Milton or if it's Doc Rivers and the rotation. Once again, now Harden reinserted into the rotation, right, into the starting lineup. But it seems as if Shake doesn't know his role anymore, right? Like he doesn't know that Shake should be that guy. When Harden goes off the floor, Shake should come in. Shake should run the offense. That's the way it should work. It should be I feel like it should be very set.
Do you think that's Shake not accepting the difference between the two roles?
I don't know. I don't know if I would go that far. I think it has to be more on Doc, right? Just bringing him in the right spots. Like specifically, like making it if this is the way Shake is, if it is Shake ultimately not accepting his role, then we have to set it more clearly, right? If you're Doc Rivers, because Doc Rivers has to adjust to his players and make the situation better to get the most out of his players. So if that is the problem, if it's Shake Milton not accepting his role, not fitting his role, not doing his part, then Doc needs to set him aside, set clear boundaries, right? You will go in for James Harden. When James Harden is on the court, you will not be, because you are to take James Harden's role when he steps off the court. And it's just that simple, right? That's the way it has to be, because we can't have these stagnant points in the offense when Harden leaves the floor for just a few minutes. You look at the plus minus, and mind you, plus minus doesn't determine anything, but Shake was the worst player on the Sixers by far. He's minus 16. Nobody else was even close to that.
Yeah.
So it's Shake, right? That's the guy. That's the bench piece that's not fulfilling there. And I think that's where those stagnant minutes on offense are coming from.
Let me jump in real quick, because I think you said something very interesting, but kind of playing back to my previous point about Harden being the maestro that he is offensively, the conductor of this offense, right? When Shake Milton was stepping in for James Harden or Tyrese Maxey next to DeAnthony Melton in the backcourt while they were injured, you saw aggressive Shake. You saw scoring Shake. You saw Shake getting to the rack, Shake stepping back from three. What I saw last night that I was about to mention, and you bring up the point of when you are off the floor, James Harden is in. When James Harden comes off, you are in because you're in that James Harden role. What is James Harden's role? To be a facilitator. And what am I seeing Shake Milton forcing? Trying to be a facilitator. When I watched Shake Milton come in for James Harden on Monday night, I didn't watch Shake Milton, the aggressor, Shake Milton, the bucket getter. I watched Shake Milton try to set up the offense in the half court, a la 4 passes results in a Matisse Thybulle 3-point attempt, right? Not Shake Milton. So I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm not saying who's right or wrong. I just think that Shake probably is the definition of a guy that may or may not know what his specific role needs to be.
That's fair, yeah, and yeah, I think that overall, I think we're pushing towards the same point. I think it's just in different directions, but yeah, I think you're right. The role needs to be clarified, and I think that's a great point as well, right? If you're having Shake come in and he's playing with Harden, and now it's shooting Shake, and then when Harden goes out and it's just you and Melton, now it's facilitator Shake. Like you shouldn't have to have him differentiating like that. It should be the same Shake each and every single time he comes off the bench. I think that's the point that we were both trying to emphasize there. We can't have non-aggressive Shake. Right. You can be facilitating Shake, but you can also be aggressively facilitating,
forcing that issue as well. And I honestly think I'm starting to get to a point where I've seen this movie enough with backup point guard Shake Milton, where I would prefer DeAnthony Melton to be that backup ball handler and facilitator when Harden's not on the floor. Because again, when Shake stepped up 2 weeks ago, who was by his side? DeAnthony Melton. And for the first 4 games or so, DeAnthony Melton was bringing the ball across half-court. Now, I know Doc switched that up a couple games in where Shake was conducting the offense a little bit more and setting things up, but it's just something to look at because that was the biggest negative. And I'm sitting here watching and I'm like, yo, Harden hasn't been on the floor for 22 seconds and we're on a 4-0 run with 2 turnovers. Like they look really
lost, right?
Yes.
They look lost, and it's a problem there, and it's going to be interesting to see, especially when Maxey comes back. How are you going to rotate?
Oh yeah,
are you going to rotate all 4 of them? Like, is Shake still included? If he's playing like that, he's not going to be, right? It's going to be a 3-guard rotation, and I would like to see Shake stay in the rotation, but not that Shake from last game. It has to be the Shake from when Harden was out. It can't be that Shake.
Because what elevates this team when you think bigger picture, when you think postseason and getting over that second round hump, right? What elevates that team? Exactly what we saw from the bench unit when they were elevated to a starter role, where we're sitting here like, oh my God, like, can you imagine these guys as the backups when you have the stars come back to be the starters?
Exactly.
Coincidentally, right now, those backups that stepped up are now stepping back down, it seems like, behind these guys. Now, they're winning games. So it's not like they're losing games as a result of a non-aggressive Shake Milton. But I think things could look a lot cleaner. And maybe that game doesn't go to overtime if Shake Milton isn't a catastrophe with the ball in his hands without James Harden on the floor.
And that's been Shake's problem throughout his career, right? We've seen the blow-ups of 39 points against the Clippers. We all remember that game, right? But it's the
Atlanta Hawks game.
Man. The Atlanta Hawks game.
Where were you?
The playoffs. Yeah, 13 points in like the last however minutes or whatever.
Minutes,
we can't have spotty Shake, right? Inconsistent Shake. None of these guys that are getting into the rotation regularly, it's like you said at the beginning of the show, like Doc said, like Tobias is doing, fitting into your role, not only knowing your role, fitting into it, but accepting it. And I think Shake needs to understand who he is, dude. Like you can score the basketball. Like that is the best thing that you can do for this team. It's very simple.
There's a lot of
usually it's the opposite. It's usually guys shoot too much or too aggressive. Don't want to give the ball out, right? Like
Jersey Ag comes in and chucks it 9 times on a cold night. It doesn't matter. For Concord wise, like it doesn't matter. But not a lot of guys, not a lot of backups in this league can come off the bench and give you 39 in a starter role. So Shake Milton has the talent to elevate this team off the bench and give them offense. It's just, what are you going to get from a night-to-night basis from him? And whether that's him knowing his role, accepting his role. Doc Rivers, Shake being, hesitant with Joel Embiid on the floor. I don't know. And yeah, shout out to Minivan, man. He needs to play more than 11 minutes tonight. I'll tell you that. And he shouldn't be playing 26 minutes like 2 games ago, but he also shouldn't play 11 minutes. And PJ Tucker plays 40. That I'll never understand.
Makes sense.
Let's get into tonight's game, man. I know we just spent about 15 minutes or so on that Raptors game. It was a great win nonetheless, 5 in a row. They continue their homestand tonight against the Detroit Pistons. Young team, injured. Ultimately, you could say that they're in tank mode for that number 1 pick. That highly coveted number 1 pick. They should be, you're right.
If they're not.
But they got some guys that can give you some issues tonight, whether that be Bogdanovich or whether that be Killian Hayes or Sadiq Bey, his name's been rumored to be traded, or Jaden Ivey, the rookie, right? So I believe Cade Cunningham is out. Is he out for the season?
Yeah, I heard he's out for season, unfortunately.
So that they are missing their young star in Cade. But what are you looking at tonight in terms of how the Sixers can kind of take control of this game early and come away with a win?
Yeah, I think it starts with just that, right? Don't sleep on the Pistons. I get it. They're 8-25, the worst record in the NBA by far. Not by far, but easily, I should say. Just don't sleep on them, man. Don't fall asleep. You've got a good thing going right now with this 5-game winning streak. You can make it 6 tonight against an opponent that, quite frankly, it should be 6 already, right? So don't sleep. Start strong. What I would ultimately say, the longer the game goes as far as competitive, right? As long as the game
you see it all time and time again,
the harder the Pistons are going to be beat tonight. So it starts with starting strong, exactly like you said. Getting off as soon as that tip-off starts, Embiid locked in, Harden locked in, aggressive, right? We don't need the Harden passing the ball all over the place. He can score it every once in a while himself as well. So I want to see these guys come out locked in, focused. I don't want to see, D'Anthony Melton missing like 8 threes to start the night, and Tobias, get started, get hot from the jump. Look focused. You're at home, right? How many games at home in a row now? You should be comfortable. You should be rested. We've had no back-to-backs in like the last 2 to 3
lots
weeks.
Of days off.
Everybody should be rested. This should be a locked-in, easy win for the Sixers tonight. Starts with starting strong.
It does, man. And you said it best, right? The longer you let a team like this hang around an 8-25 ball club, the more difficult they become to put away. And you, the term, whether it's leave no doubt, whatever the case may be, you have to start strong and you have to find a way to have your lead. I don't want to put a number on it, but this should be a double-digit game at halftime, if we're being honest. Because like I said, you do see it time and time again. And how do we end up, Scotty, on December 21st, where Joel Embiid needs to drop 42 with a game winner over the Detroit Pistons at home? Because they don't start strong, because they don't take this team seriously, and they let them hang around late into the third quarter, early fourth quarter. That should be goal number 1. And if they do that, if they come out focused like they're playing the Milwaukee Bucks, the Boston Celtics, the Golden State Warriors, the Sixers will and should handle business tonight. I'm looking offensively tonight because I think the defense will show up. I'm looking offensively, and I'm looking at the 3-point numbers. Detroit is 17th in the league, 3-point field goals, and 18th for 3-point percentage. They shoot under 35% from 3. Meanwhile, the Sixers are 3rd in the association at 38.5% from 3, and they are 10th in field goals attempted. That's one way to put them away early. If you can shoot well from 3 early on, something you did not do 2 nights ago against Toronto, where D'Anthony Melton's 0 for 6 in the first half, and James Harden is 1 for 4, and Tobias Harris is the only one hitting. That is certainly a way to extend an early lead if you can have a large disparity in the 3-point column. That's where I'm looking for the Sixers to get going tonight. And just from a pure talent perspective, I don't like the Rockets game is all the evidence you need to know. These dudes should not be able to run with you. I know it's the NBA. I know it's the highest level. So any given night, right? Just like football, just like baseball, it does not matter. They shouldn't be able to run with you. Not on your home floor. Not when you're playing this well. Not when they're missing their number 1 piece in Cade Cunningham, right?
Yeah.
So you need to take them out early.
Like they're not even as good as the Rockets. Like I know the Rockets are not
Yeah.
some world-beating team. They're at the bottom of the Western Conference themselves. But the Rockets have a Jalen Green, right? He's a guy that can just score the hell out of the ball. Kevin Porter Jr. can score the hell out of the ball. Their highest, their leading scorer is Bogdanovich. Like, I'm not trying to shit on
Yeah.
Bogdanovich. He averages 21 points. He shoots 42% from the three-point line. But if this is your leading scorer, where this is not a
that's
good
why
team,
that's
right?
why they have
They
8
lost
wins.
Cade Cunningham. Exactly. They have 8
Because
wins.
Bojan
Right?
Bogdanovich has to be their leading scorer.
Exactly. So from a talent perspective, we're not even looking at a team like a Utah Jazz where they have Lauri Markkanen and Jordan Clark. Like, it's not like that. It's the Detroit Pistons. It's a lot of young talent, but like a lot of these guys, they're top. I have like their top 5 to 6 players written down here. You mentioned Sadiq Bey, Bogdanovich, Jaden Ivey. Those are your top 3 scorers right there. Yeah. Then you go down Isaiah Stewart, Marvin Bagley Jr., Killian Hayes, who you mentioned earlier as well. Once again, these are not guys that are going to come out and maybe drop 30 on you. Like that. They're not those guys, right? Like, not even to come out and have like a 35, a hot game, maybe hit 5-3. There's nobody on this roster. Sadiq Bey would be the closest thing. He's shooting 30% from 3 this year. Like, there's no excuses, man. There's no excuses. I love what you said defensively. They should come out automatically. That should be the first place they start. They're 4th or 3rd in the NBA as far as points given up to the opponent. So they're a great defensive team. That should be a given. I'm following along the same lines as you as far as the strong start, good shooting, right? Getting out to a solid start, but keeping the chemistry and the flow of the offense as well. Not having those stagnant moments like we had the 19-1 run against the Raptors, right? Where we just can't get a bucket. Tonight is the night where you can exercise some demons and get some bad trends out, right? You can try to change some of these trends against a bad team tonight and have a consistently well-flowing offensive output tonight. That's what I would like to see as well. As far as a key to the game, none of these droughts. I'm so sick of like the scoring droughts. Just because Embiid or Harden steps off the floor for like 2 minutes, let the guys take a breath and be able to keep the offensive flow. And so it's a lot of what we've already talked about here. Just remaining aggressive when Harden is out of the game. We know the playmaker that Harden is. Mm-hmm. Don't allow that to be the only way that you can score as a player in the National Basketball Association. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it's not, we're not asking for much.
He's not the only guy on a team that can run an offense. Because guess what, fellas? Because guess what? Before he was acquired by Brooklyn just a year and a half ago to do so, he wasn't that guy either. He wasn't this facility. He's turned himself into this type of player later on in his career because he was asked to do so. So you cannot tell me a guy like a D'Anthony Melton or a Shake Milton, and you just have, not that we ever want our 7'2" center bringing them, not that we want our 6'8", 6'7" power forward and Tobias Harris bring them, but you have other options, right? Like, you're talented enough 1 through 5 where multiple guys can kind of get the ball across half court and get you into a set, right? So we look at the production on the floor, the star talent, the talent level overall. It really shouldn't be that close. And when you look at trends, Scotty, so we mentioned how the Pistons are 8-25 for a reason. They're also 4-13 on the road this season. While the Sixers have won 5 straight, the Pistons have dropped 4 of their last 5. So they're banged up. They're tanking. They're way less talented. They're bad on the road.
What else?
Take care of your business tonight. Take care of your business. And that's going to get me to my goal of the game, right? I know we didn't discuss it too much early on. I don't got a number for you. I don't got a statistic that we can analyze this by. Take care of business. We look back at that Rockets game and James Harden's return from injury. And what did we say? I don't want a 40-point Joel Embiid game winner night. No. We got a 50-burger loss. And Tobias Harris was 7 for 8 from 3. Like, we got all of it in a loss, right? Tonight, I don't need Joel Embiid and James Harden playing 39, 40 minutes. Yeah. I don't need Joel Embiid to have a Herculean effort to beat Killian Hayes and Isaiah Stewart, right? I need you to take care of business on your home floor, get some good old-fashioned load management down the stretch and kind of just work on things throughout the course of this game, especially later on when you build up that lead, because it's essentially something that you can test out in game situations if you had the lead in hand. So that's my goal of the game, man. Just take care of business. It's not just win. I'll take a win at the end of the day. I'll get to 6 wins, but guys, I need you to have more than a 3-point win over the Detroit Pistons tonight. I know I don't care if that sounds a little selfish, but but
it's one of those things, and like you said, I don't know if you can equate it to like a number or something to happen.
I'm not saying win by 22,
statistically, but I mean win by enough to where maybe Embiid and Harden get to sit out the last 5 to 6 minutes. Like, maybe that's what it is.
Hold on.
Let our guys get some rest.
Win the game with 4, if not all 5 of the starters being on the bench by the 3-minute mark of the fourth quarter.
There we go. That's not asking for a lot, man.
No.
That's really not. It's really not. I like the goal of the game, and I think it should be fairly obtainable, right? Take care of business. It's exactly what we've emphasized this entire show. Don't fall asleep on the Pistons. Don't start slow. Don't start. It's the same thing we always talk about. It's energy, man. On a night-to-night basis, you're building something consistent here. You got off to a slow start against the Raptors. You almost had a lapse. It went into overtime. The streak was almost over. You got through that. We are to the Pistons now. Let's not do that again. Bring the energy on a consistent basis, and the win streak will continue because we're playing consistently winning basketball. It's simple as that, man.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the last game before we head to the Garden on Christmas Day, or is there one in between this?
We have one
Wednesday
in
now.
between.
We probably have one in between.
There's
Friday,
one on
I'm
Friday.
assuming.
There's one on Friday. Give me one second. I'll pull it up.
I believe that. Yeah. Because it would be our last home game because it's 7-game road,
Clippers
homestand, I believe. Okay, Clippers. Well, we'll see what their injury report looks like, but we'll get back to you then.
Yeah. Never know.
Yeah. So with that being said, man, let's get into predictions, stars of the game, and as always, our favorite segment on the show, our best bets. Scotty, I honestly got a few for you, and I don't know which way we should definitively take this. So I'll lay them all out for the people, and we'll tweet them out just before tip off, and we'll see which one sticks. Mine that I've laid, I'm going back to the well from 2 nights ago. I'm going with James Harden over 2.5 threes made tonight at +110 on DraftKings Sportsbook. James Harden, since returning versus the Houston Rockets a couple weeks back, has hit this number in every single game except for last game against the Toronto Raptors when he went 1 for 6, right? So I am expecting a bounce back game, lesser competition, isolation ball. James Harden over 2.5 made 3-pointers +110 on DraftKings is my laid best bet. I also do like George Niang to bounce back. He made 1 3 last game on 2 attempts. I expect against lesser competition, he gets more minutes. George Niang over 1.5 3-pointers made at +120 on DraftKings Sportsbook. And then one with way less juice. Tobias Harris has hit this number in every game in the month of December. Tobias Harris over 1.5 point threes made at -150 on DraftKings Sportsbook. He's hit 2+ in every game this month, Scotty.
Yes, sir. So I actually love all of those plays. The James Harden play is actually my favorite play of the night as well. The 2.5 over 2.5 threes. It's what we discussed. We wanted to do a show that night. We didn't get to it because we would have laid that as our best bet on Monday, and it wouldn't have hit. But nonetheless, we are going back to the well. We are going back to the well, man. I'm with you there. And I think I just want to see Harden be aggressive. I think that's part of that goal there, and that being the best bet. Aside from that, I do like the Tobias 2+ threes. I know it's been roughly around -150, so obviously the juice isn't there, as you mentioned. A boost on FanDuel that I was offered, I actually like at +220. It's Joel Embiid 25+ points, James Harden 8+ assists, and Tobias 2+ made threes. That comes out to +220. So that is on FanDuel. And then one other play, which this actually falls right in line with my X factor of the game. Okay. I guess you could say my player of the game, who I have at D'Anthony Melton. I went with a little D-Melt parlay, a little bit of a bounce back game. Nonetheless, if you want to just hammer the 2.5 threes by itself over, I think that's more than fine. It was around plus 110, plus 115.
Yeah.
The last time I looked at it. So that one I love. He got 11 attempts last game. He got more than enough attempts. He only hit 2. Obviously, it was an off night. Expect him to bounce back. What I went with for my parlay, though, comes out to plus 552. D'Anthony Melton, over 11.5 points. If he makes two, 3 threes in a game, he's going to get that. I have him at 2 threes, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Comes out to plus 552. I know it's a D-Melt play, right? The 2 steals, that's the one that really gets it kicking, right? The 2 assists, you're not asking for much there. I think he averages around 3 to 4 a game, but he's been getting that pretty easily with Maxey out. And then the 2 steals, he averages roughly 2 steals a game during the season. So that's my D-Melt play of the night. It's my D-Melt bounce back play, I guess you would call it. I think that's pretty easy. These are all around his averages, right? As far as what D-Melt's doing this season. He just had a little bit of a rough night on Monday, but I expect him to bounce back. But there's just tonight was a little interesting, right? Because it's the Detroit Pistons.
You have no idea
opponent,
which way this game.
How long people are going to play, right? Like that's the big thing with that boost. Maybe Embiid doesn't play long enough to get 25 points. That would be ideal from a Sixers fan perspective. Or
Embiid scores 14 in the first quarter, right? Like I have no idea what to expect tonight. This game could go to overtime. The Sixers could win by 23. We're not going to know till tip off. But I do like them to bounce back specifically from behind the 3-point line tonight. Any of those props. I'm telling you now, the one I have laid, I sent it to you, is the James Harden 3+, right?
I laid that one.
So when I have laid, I do like it. I'm kicking myself for not waiting for George Niang because I'm guaranteeing you he hits the 2+ at plus 120 tonight. It's happening. He's going to play more minutes. Yeah. He only took 2 attempts last game. That's not happening again.
That ain't
Lesser
George.
Team, home floor. He's hitting 2+ tonight. I promise that. You got D-Melt as your player of the game. I'll stick with my best bet guy. I'm going with James Harden tonight. Like I said, the way that he's been consistently conducting this offense, you see the 15 assists, 16 assists, whether he's scoring 22, whether he's hitting 5 threes, whether he's getting to the free throw line, it does not matter. He's doing a little bit of everything. He's been more involved defensively, getting his hands in passing lanes and taking the ball the other way. He controls the pace for the Sixers team. He controls everything offensively. I know our minds go to Joel Embiid in terms of pace because we have to wait for the big fella. James has really been playing like the main piece offensively to set everything up. And it's almost like, here's the ball, Joe. But you see, I saw a couple possessions the other night where Joel's calling and James is like, no, not this possession. Not this possession.
Get on, right? So or get in that, get right there on that elbow, boy. Like, Hey, I love it. I love it. At the end of the day, James Harden is older than Joel Embiid. He's been in the league longer than Joel Embiid. He's been playing at a maximum, an MVP level longer than Joel Embiid. He knows more about the game. If I had to guess myself, right? James Harden, he's the mind behind the madness that is the Philadelphia 76ers, and they go as he goes. The offense, right? It just looks way better with James Harden manning it, right? Everything without James Harden, Embiid. Like it's just better with Harden. Right. He gets other guys involved, and I'm with you. I like him tonight. And I love the 2.5 threes, of course.
And specifically, the 2-man game between the two of them has progressed to a much higher level than before the injury. They look like they're enjoying playing together. You see the quick little pocket passes. Oh, guess what Joel's starting to do, Scotty? In the pick and roll, when he hits the lane, he's actually taking it right to the rack. Would you look at that? I've seen a couple dunks over the last couple of games. No more of this pocket
easy buckets
off the 2-man game, and then he accepts the contact, he accepts the defender, and he gives you the jab step, and then he breaks it. That's not a pick and roll. That's just a different way to get him the ball at the elbow. Like start running the pick and roll efficiently. You're starting to see it. You're starting to see it from at the 3-point line, extending out there as well, where James gets around the screen, a double comes, bang Joel, top of the key. Maybe an extra pass to Tobias in the corner off of that movement. So I'm seeing a lot of positives. I'm going with the Sixers win. I think they get to 6 straight tonight, man. And honestly, maybe it's just the fanboy in me. I really don't think this one is all that close. Now, do I think it's a 35-point blowout? No, absolutely not. I don't think this team is running like that at the moment. But I do expect for Joel and James not to have to be on the floor at the end of this one when the clock hits 0. I do expect this to be a double-digit win. I'm going to say the Sixers win by, I'll go 14 or 15 tonight.
Yeah, no, I absolutely like it. You'll see where I'm at by my score here, but I have the Sixers winning this one 115-95. I just think you look at this team, this is like I said earlier, this is not your Houston Rockets. This is not an Orlando Magic team with Apollo Banchero and Mo Bamba. This isn't, whoever we discussed.
This isn't your Detroit Pistons with Cade Cunningham.
This isn't Detroit with Cade Cunningham. That's the best way to put it because he's out for season. And there's no shot creation there. There's no creativity within that offense. And there's no reason that the 3rd to 4th ranked defensive unit in the NBA shouldn't be able to lock down this team and keep them under 100 points. And on top of that, I expect them to come out, shoot the ball a lot better tonight as well. They had their off shooting night the other night. So it's time to bounce back tonight at home and hit some shots. I think they take care of business. I'm with you. 15-plus point win.
Love it, love it, love it. Guys, that is going to wrap up the Sixers edition of DSM Pregame Live, streaming exclusively on the YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you check us out at DSM_media on Twitter. Hit that follow button. The link tree in our bio will take you to every platform. We are available on IG, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch. We're on all social platforms, so check us out wherever. But the YouTube channel most specifically, we're at 692, Scotty, 8 more from 700. So help us by hitting that subscribe button, liking this video, sharing it out, whatever you got to do. There's great content nearly 7 days a week with all of our pregame shows exclusively on the channel. Guys, don't forget to check our friends over out at Luxon Jewelers at shopluxon.com, as well as our friends at jentsbarberlounge.com. Book your appointment today in Fishtown or Old City, and you can use promo code DSM on shopluxon.com for 25% off and free shipping. For myself, for Scotty, have a great rest of your night, and go Sixers.
Go Sixers.